I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. At last Wednesday's House Judiciary Committee hearing, GOP lawmaker Dan Bishop and Democratic lawmaker Hank Johnson debated gun control legislation. Bishop decried Democrats for trying to deny a civil right to Americans. Meanwhile, Johnson spoke in favor of gun control measures, especially in light of recent mass shootings in Buffalo, Uvalde, and Highland Park. Johnson told his colleague, quote, "Stop pretending that we need military-grade assault weapons to defend our homes." Listen in to the full exchange.
Made reference to? Is this the mic? Oh, I got the wrong mic on? Yeah, sorry, thank you. This gets at something I made reference to earlier. And let me give some statistics. Mother Jones magazine, I'm not sure it's the most reliable thing in the world, but has a database of mass shootings, and it covers 2007 to 2017. So over that 10-year period, there were 495 people murdered in mass shootings. And about half of those were murdered by a perpetrator with a weapon like an AR-15. Over the same time frame, FBI annual crime reports show that there were 150,000 plus homicides in total, of which 103,901 involved firearms. So again, same 10-year period, 253 people killed by the weapons substantially at issue in this bill, the AR-15 type guns, rifles, semi-automatic, centerfire semi-automatic rifles. And yet more than 100,000 died in firearm accidents, which brings me back to the question. We start off with the arguments by the majority in support of this bill, the chairman's candid acknowledgement that it flouts, that it defies the Supreme Court's holding as to the protected status of weapons in common use, and then the other very emotional attacks on, personalized attacks on Republican members for debating the merits of the bill, and the avoidance of this question. If the horrific things that all of us see happening really bother you, why is your bill trying to take care of 253 out of 100,000 gun homicides? Why is that? And at the same time, to the point Mr. Roy makes with this amendment, Democrats, and of course there's always the denial that you did it, and then we trot out everybody's statements, including lots of members on this committee statements embracing the idea of defunding police, abolishing police. And in 2020, 5,000 more homicides in that year because of your rhetoric, because of what you favored. Of those, 65% suffered by African Americans. That's more than 3,500 additional killings. And what do? You come in with a bill to undertake another episode of massive resistance to the United States Supreme Court, just like Democrats have before, in denying a civil right to Americans. And you deal with something that affects maybe 250 murders. Let's say it's gone up some. Let's say you triple that. It's still nothing compared to the additional killings just of African Americans you've precipitated. Why is that? What you want to do is to leave Americans in the crime-ridden cities you've given rise to, left to the tender mercies of the criminals. You don't want them to be able to defend themselves with weapons in common use. That's your position. And your position, you say, is responsible, and Republican questioning of your position is irresponsible. I must confess, I don't follow your logic. I don't follow your logic. I think what we should do is we should grapple with the conditions that you've created. That's what we should do. And you're not doing that. And if anybody can tell me over there how many killings this will prevent, I'd like to know. And I hope you'll combine it with an explanation of why you're not grappling with the problem. and that the only thing you're interested in doing is defying the United States Supreme Court and denying the constitutional rights of law-abiding Americans. You want time? I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Who seeks recognition? For what purpose does the gentleman from Georgia seek recognition?
Move to strike the last word.
Gentleman is recognized.
I rise in opposition to the amendment, and I question the logic of whether or not 253 lives are worth our efforts here today. I mean, 747 may be killed by guns if we pass this today, but we would also save 253 lives. Those are valuable lives. Life is valuable. And by the way, the people who are here today who have suffered loss as a result of gun violence, I want to offer my deepest sympathies. And I thank you all for coming to see us today. Stand up to the NRA for a change. You know, the NRA have been, and the pro-gun interests have spent a lot of money. They dump a ton of money onto 99% of which goes to the Republicans in Congress. 99% of the tons of money that the pro-gun folks drop on Congress every session goes to my friends in the Republican Party. And so there's if you connect the dots, you understand why we have such opposition to common sense gun reform measures in this country. You know, back in 2004, when the ban on assault weapons came off, then what did we see? We saw a rise, a dramatic rise in the use of assault weapons, military-style assault weapons, to commit mass murders in America. Who needs, by the way, a 15 projectile clip to defend their home? I mean, we're not in Ukraine, we're not in Vietnam, we're not in South Korea. This is not World War II or the Korean War. You know, we live in a civil society. We live in a society where everyone should have the right to feel safe. And I know that we're never going to get rid of all of the handguns out there. Nobody is asking for that, although it would be a good thing if people in America learn how to live together without fearing each other, without despising each other, without wanting to kill somebody. There's some people who walk around with that mentality, just looking, they got a hair trigger. And when you put a hair trigger weapon in the hands of such a person, then you get the epidemic of mass murder that we are experiencing in this country today. So, I mean, it's common sense. Let's stop pretending that we need military-grade assault weapons to defend our homes. We don't need that kind of firepower. We're just itching to be able to use it because we don't value human life. 253 lives don't matter. Well, it matters to me, and I know that it matters to you because you wish that your loved one could have been within that group. And if it ever happens to me, I'll be feeling just like you feel. And I think that's just humanity. When something like that happens, all of the money from the NRA and from the pro-gun groups doesn't really matter. But by then, it's too late. So, you know, what we're doing today, we have an opportunity to do the right thing and to stand up to the NRA, let them know once and for all that We stand with the people of this country. People of this country don't want assault weapons. And so I've heard a lot of arguments today, a lot of nonsense. Let's just stop the nonsense and get rid of the assault weapons. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back for what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Move strike last word.
Gentleman is recognized.
I can assure my colleague that I don't